I'm live. Hi. Hi, it's Dr. Meg Haworth here. And today I'm talking about transpersonal psychology. What is it and can it help me? And transpersonal psychology, the word transpersonal, let's look at that. Trans meaning transcending the personality. And really it looks at the level of the soul, transcending the personal. And looking at that. So we go beyond that. And the key differences that I see in transpersonal psychology and traditional psychology is traditional psychology looks at pathology, disorders, treatments of disorders. It's what's wrong with you and how can we treat that, which is extremely useful. There's all different kinds of wonderful things that go on in that whole field. And I mean, I myself, I was studied traditional psychology. I also went to therapists for many years. But then I felt like I had hit a wall and I felt like there was something more that I needed to understand about me and about psychology and about how to heal myself. And let me introduce myself here for a moment. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I help women who were sexually, physically, or emotionally abused as children and now have a chronic illness to get well using holistic wellness programs. With my 10 years as a celebrity chef, nutritional chef in Hollywood, I helped people with creating diets for specific conditions. So I can help with the food aspects and creating recipes that taste good, food you really want to eat, and then also the environment. And what are the things that could be affecting you and affecting your illness in the environment? And then I also look at what are the what's the inner work. Let's work on that. And so that's where transpersonal psychology comes in, because transpersonal really focuses on big questions like who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? What's the purpose of this illness that I'm going through? And how can I better understand it and develop compassion for myself? How can I heal through the healing power of transpersonal psychology? So again, transpersonal focuses on what's great about you and focusing on that and growing that, releasing what's in the way of that. And I specifically work with emotions, where they get stuck in the body, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and how that's affecting your daily life, and how once you've given a rise or you've given a voice to those emotions, that you're able to understand them and release them from your physical body. And what happens on the other side of that is the person's reality shifts and changes because you've released the thing that was holding you back. It was weighing you down. It was causing pain in the body. It was causing anxiety, fear, all of these different emotions that we see as negative emotions. I see them as teaching emotions. They're an opportunity to teach you something about who you really are, what your purpose is, what the purposes of your illness may be. So it sounds maybe kind of nebulous, but once a person starts to get into the work with me, then they start to feel better. Actually, they'll feel better by the end of one session. And then they'll start to feel better and higher and lighter and freer. And it's a really exciting thing to watch happen for the client because of the freedom that happens on the other side of that. And how illnesses eventually disappear. This happened for myself. My story is that I had over a dozen illnesses. I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, migraine headaches, chronic infections. I have a ruptured disc in my neck. I have a disc in my lower back that was pushed out of place by being struck by lightning. 3 areas of my brain were damaged from the lightning. I drowned. I was sexually abused. They're all different types of abuse. So I'm coming at it from a place of true understanding what it feels like to go through all of those things. And also from the 20 years that I've been helping other people with food, with inner work, with their transpersonal work, and with environmental work. So so there's a lot there that can help. So I remember when I was a psych major way back when at Radford University in Radford, Virginia, and I remember just getting the same theorists over and over and over again. Like, okay, we've read about Freud, and we read about Maslow, and we've read about Piaget and Jung and all these different theorists, and they were all great. I learned so much, but I always felt like there was something missing, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I eventually ended up with a degree in English with a concentration in writing because that was a way to study psychology through characters and books that felt more empowering to me in a way, because it didn't feel like there were boxes, that these characters were being put into boxes. So I eventually found transpersonal psychology when I hit a wall in my own healing. With the illnesses I had, I'd already changed my diet. I'd removed gluten and dairy, all the allergens, alcohol, caffeine. I was getting better, but there was so much going on in my emotional life that wasn't getting better because I was still the same person carrying the traumas forward. And once I found transpersonal psychology, it started to release them from my physical body, and I started to feel more empowered. I started to feel better. My relationship to different emotions, like jealousy was one I had a really hard time with, that began to lift. So then with that, judgment went, and in its place, I started to grow more compassion, more care for others and self, and deeper understanding. So it just was really powerful, and that's what I help my clients with, is shifting and changing that energy, that emotional energy that's deep and dark and difficult. And here's the thing though, when people work with me, or when I did that work, it would sometimes be emotional and difficult while I was going through it, but we were always able to shift it. And what I found was that it was so much more painful, and I see this in my clients too, it's so much more painful to live with the wounds of abuse than it is to heal them. Because on the other side of that, yes, there are problems. Yes, there are times where I feel horrible. It's part of the human condition. But by and large, the way I feel inside now versus how I felt then, I'm a different person. And I attribute that to transpersonal psychology and how it's helped me really get past the inner shame and blame and guilt and sadness. And when things come up, I go to those tools and I use them over and over again to help me continue on my journey. And I think that's important to know. It's not like you're healed and you're done and you're going to have this unbelievable life all the time. I do have an amazing life. I'm very grateful for my life, but I'm also human, so I have difficult moments. I have challenges. I have times where I feel lonely or sad, or the shame comes back up again, and it's another layer to work on. But the tools that I have by way of transpersonal psychology are by far the most powerful tools I've ever received, and the most powerful tools that I have ever given out to other people who need something that goes beyond what's wrong with me. What's my pathology? What's the treatment that's recommended? What drugs should I take? My course of action is drug-free, though some people I work with are still working with traditional psychology. I do see this as complementary care, especially when you're making that transition of working through an abuse situation, and that I'll work with your therapist, and we'll work together while you're going through your transformation. And I think that's important to note, that it's a transformation that you go through. That's what transpersonal psychology takes you through, transforming at the energetic level. So we look at emotions. Emotions are energy. And so we can shift those emotions from sadness to joy. So that's part of the journey, is we're shifting energy in your body, and that translates to the cells in the body, so that translates to relieving symptoms, lifting symptoms, and thus lifting disease. So, and I'm so blessed I get to see this all the time in my clients. So I would love to give you more information about that. You can go to my website at meghaworth.com, meghaworth.com. And I have the ACE quiz up there. It's a 10-question quiz based on the ACE study, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And the higher your score is, the more likely you are to develop chronic illnesses, specific ones. Once you take your ACE quiz, you can book a free appointment with me so that we can assess your ACE quiz and talk about what we could do to help you get better. Now, it may not be me you work with. I may turn you away and refer you to somebody else. I just want you to get better. I just want you to get well. So if any of this speaks to you, if this transpersonal psychology speaks to you, I would love to talk to you about it. So please feel free to book that 20-minute free consultation with me. You can go to my website again at meghaworth.com, meghaworth.com. Take the ACE quiz. Also get my free ebook, The 10 Steps to Overcoming the Effects of Victimization. And then I also have a recipe book, free anti-inflammatory lunch recipes for people on the go, which is really fun because you may be thinking, well, what's food got to do with it? I mean, I'm just going to go to a transpersonal psychologist and get better, right? But food is the thing that supports your biology as you move through the healing that you need to do, especially if you did go through abuse. Had an interesting discussion on a podcast today. I was interviewed on a podcast, and we were talking about abuse histories and how some people compare their history and say, well, it only happened once, or it didn't happen that much, so it's not as important as, say, somebody who went through it every day. It's not true. It can be just as affecting and as difficult for you as it was for the person who went through it every day or multiple times, or multiple abusers like myself. So just really understand that the longer you go with that abuse history without having gone through something to help you heal it, the harder it becomes for you and for the people around you, because you'll be projecting out to others around you. You'll be projecting out the sadness, the fear, the shame, and the guilt. Those are the major emotions that you're going to be carrying and projecting out on other people around you. So you can shift it, you can change it, and I would love to help you with that. Again, it's meghaworth.com, meghaworth.com, and you can find me on the web there. And I would love to hear from any and all of you. So please feel free to leave any comments that you might have in the chat thread, or any questions you might have. And I hope to talk to you soon. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Mwah.